Hello everyone, my name is Saksham Dikshit and this is my channel Pentest Diaries. So today I'll make another video on the same series of knowledge share itself, and in this video I'll try to cover what are the preventive action will have a developer will have to take it to prevent the SSRF, which we call it as a server side request forgery in especially in Node.js. So over here itself we'll talk about the stuffs, what are the prevention stuffs the developer will have to take. Even a security professional, they can take it or they can suggest. So this is a suggestion for both, even for the developers, even for the security professionals or penetration testers who are performing the assessments for it. At the time of providing a suggestions to the developer, like this is most important for them, and even for the testing also they will have to go through all these sections for it, so that they will know like whether all the checks will be completely secured or not. Okay, so in this itself we'll just try to understand how to get it implement a combination of the best practice. We'll try to get it cover. Other than that, security mechanism which we're talking about it, we get it covered in this video, and the code level defenses. What are the code level defenses which we can utilize it just to overcome the problem of SSRF? So I'm talking about only the SSRF over here in this video, how to get prevented in Node.js, and there are a couple of strategies which I can suggest you in like almost 8 or 9 or 10 I think strategies which you can utilize it if you're a developer. Definitely this is just a reference point for it. Even a couple of tools, libraries, I will suggest you what are the things you can utilize it if you came to know about such type of, like take example, if any penetration testing conducted on your application and that application on a Node.js, you are a developer, then in that case if you're getting the report, so definitely this video will be helpful for you, so that you can able to understand the stuffs. Like anyone is saying that there is a problem of input invalidation itself, so how exactly you can solve those things, what are the libraries you're supposed to use, everything I'll try to get it covered in this video itself. You can utilize it very easily. So we'll go further with that. What are the strategies normally a developer will have to take it first, so that they will overcome the problem of whatever that related to the SSRF itself, how they overcome the problem of the SSRF. Like SSRF is not happening only by one way, there are so many ways by which the SSRF will be getting conducted. I'm just including over here as a 10 or 8 ways strategies, but more than that also is available in the market, or few are not even disclosed in the market. So you just like these are the reference things which you have to take it, but later on itself if you are making a code, make sure that you have to be getting up to date, so that you are aware about the latest stuffs, latest strategies for the SSRF to overcome the problem. Like maybe a possible penetration tester, they can bypass your security checks, your defenses, they can bypass it very easily. So you should be updated well, so that you can aware about it, how exactly I can close the accessibility for the attacker or for the penetration tester, so that they can't conduct the attack of SSRF on their application. So going further with that, if you're talking about the first strategy for the input validation and a sanitization itself, what are the input validation and what is sanitization, how we overcome the problem for it, and I'm just talking about the 3 things coming under these categories for it. So 3 things are validation URLs, like we have to get it, validate the URL, sanitize the input, that's one important thing, and the whitelist allow domains, so that's also most important. I'll read the content for you, then I'll explain you about it, how exactly is it. So talking about the validate URL, ensure that the user provided URL follows a proper format and only allowed user to specific protocols like HTTP and HTTPS. You can use a library like a validator to achieve this. So what it means, we have to provide the access only to authorized users only, that's one thing, and the specified protocol, like whatever the protocol we have specified, that to be getting utilized over there. So that was the reason we have to use one of the library over here as a validator, so that we can validate it whether the user trying to get access the application, whether it's utilizing HTTP or HTTPS or any other protocol than this, which is in a I can say that a whitelisted list, which we have it as a protocol, that should be get it allowed for the user. And if anyone is utilizing anything else, then in that case definitely the access will be denied for the user. Going further with that, if we talk about the sanitize input, so how exactly sanitize input? So we'll talk about sanitize user provided data to remove potential harmful characters or code that could be used for SSRF attacks. Library like a DOM Purify can help with this. So this is one of the library which you can utilize it. What it means by the sanitize input, Normally when our penetration testers or attackers trying to conduct the attack, they are trying to pass a script, they are putting some malicious content inside of the body, and then in that case they just want to see whether it was actually being conduct the SSRF or not. So what the developer will have to do, they will have to read that and they have to block such type of things, like any unwanted type of scripts, any unwanted type of characters utilizing inside of the body or anywhere inside of the whole structure of that application. If anyone is trying to send the request, and in that request itself anywhere you're seeing any unwanted traffic, unwanted type of tags over there itself, definitely you have to get it blocked. You will not supposed to allow those things. Okay, that's coming under the sanitized input. Like you will have to allow only whatever the legitimate request should be coming from the user. That was the only thing is allowed. Rest everything to be get blocked. There is nothing like a script, nothing like a tag will be get allowed for the user, as user will not utilize such type of tags at the time of the normal user request itself. That was the reason we had to block it and overcome this problem using like reading the content of that body. Going further with that, whitelist allow domain. That's also most important. In couple of ways, people are going for the blacklist, like we are blocking this site, we are blocking this URL, that URL. So that's not the preferred way. We have to whitelist that. Just having a habit to make that, make it a habit to go for the whitelist allow domain. That will give a extra privilege. Like other than these URLs, nothing will be allowed. So that was one of the things. We have to allow only the URL from which we wanted that to be get access. Rest everything to be get blocked. We do not want anything to be get access. That's coming under the category of the whitelist allow domain. Whatever the domain we wanted to be get allowed, we had to provide that access. Rest everything to be get blocked. So there is no concern like whatever the new URLs get innovate in a market and we had to block it. Nothing. Whatever the allowed one, that is only allowed. Rest everything is blocked. Now going further with it, use safe libraries. That's most important. When you're making the code, make sure that you're utilizing libraries, whatever the libraries you're utilizing in a code, it should be appropriate, it should be from a legitimate sources. Make sure that you have to utilize it. Don't go with any unknown repositories or libraries itself. You will import it from internet, try to utilize it directly. Don't go with that, as it's not a legitimate one. Definitely that will cause your that will cause a problem for you later phase itself when it's get if a malicious code inside of that code, definitely it will impact you. That's the reason behind it. Don't go with any unwanted unsafe libraries. Go with the safe libraries all the time. Going further with that, if I talk about third point is a URL parsing and the validation. That's most important. Validation is one of the things which is most important all the time. So use a robust URL parsing libraries like a Node.js built-in URL modules or a third-party libraries like a URL parse to parse and validate the URL. Check the scheme like example HTTP, HTTPS, host name and a port to ensure that they meet the application requirement itself. So that's also one of the things where we are trying to validate it. We are trying to validate whether all the things like a port, whatever the protocols over there itself, the host name, whatever is get allowed, it should be fulfilled all the requirement itself. That to be get it coming under this category of the URL parsing itself. And for to conduct such type of thing, to overcome the problem, we simply have to use either a Node.js library straightforward, or we can utilize a third-party library which is called as a URL parse directly in your code itself to prevent or make it a defense mechanism at your application end, so that attacker can't conduct such type of attack using these things to be get it exploited. Going further with that, limit access to internet resources. That is also one of the most important thing. Like we have to limit that, not allowed for everything to be getted access. So take example, if your application need to make requests to internal resources, use firewall rules or network segmentation to restrict access to sensitive endpoints. That's one of the things. Like take example, if your applications get interacted with another application or another server itself which is present in any other zone itself, so make sure that you have a proper firewall ACS in between of it, so that you can prevent the interaction between both the servers. Okay, that's one of the thing. Like not a free flow over there itself. You have to make it a channel for any access to be get it allowed. No, don't go with that. That will create a problem for your application later phase itself. If anyone get compromised any server, then definitely if it's any rule is open on a firewall, definitely it's creating a problem for your application, and your application maybe get exploited or can be compromised. Utilize virtual private network or a private network interfaces to isolate the internal services from the external. So that's also one of the things, like we have to utilize the VPN over there itself. That's most important. Like normally organizations, like when we're going talking about the internal application or internal setup to be get it access, then definitely we have to utilize the VPN over there itself. Instead of exposing the whole server on internet, we have to utilize a VPN just to get it access. For example, if I want to get it access anything which is an internal one, that to be get it access only through the VPN, not to get it exposed the internal one to the internet. That's coming under the category of the limit. So limit access to the internet is most important all the time. By this way we can like couple of cases, like so many rules are open for their application, people are just open it for the testing purpose and they forget to remove those rules, and that rule will be remain be on a couple of organization itself. They have those such type of rules on their firewall and it's running on, they are not removing those rules. That is also one of the problem later phase itself. If it's allowed, any traffic will get hit to the server. When the servers get compromised, any incident happen on that server, then only the people are just getting investigated and remove such type of rules. So there should be a practice appropriately. If that rule, that service is not utilized now, then in that case definitely in a monthly basis, a quarterly basis or half yearly basis, they have to remove the inappropriate rules from the firewall, so that there is no such type of accessibility provided to the attacker. There is no leverage for the attacker to use such type of rules and reach to a server very easily. Going with the fifth point, disable or restrict dangerous protocol and the features. So we have to restrict unwanted protocols. That's also most important. So protocol in the context of FTP should be get it not allowed. So disable support for the protocols like file, FTP, HTTP request. HTTP is also one of the things we are not supposed to allow it. Like nowadays every application is working on HTTPS, so we should have to allow HTTPS only, not the HTTP. FTP should not be allowed over there. So that's also one of the things we have to get it restrict that. Even if we needed the FTP, it should be in a controlled environment internally, not to the exposed to the internet itself. That port should not be getting exposed from the server side to the internet. If anyone is trying to get it enumerate the server, that person should get only 443 or port 18, not more than that. Okay, that's most important. We are not supposed to expose the port number of our servers on port 21, that's FTP port, to be on internet, so that a person can know, okay, FTP is running over there. So that was one of the initial foothold the person or attacker can utilize it just to compromise the whole server. So we are not supposed to allow and expose FTP port on internet. That should be getting restricted completely. And configure HTTP client option to disallowed redirect to the internal or unauthorized domain. So that's also one of the things we have to be get it. Like there is the options, like if you have worked on a penetration testing or if you are a developer, you are aware about it, there are options which we are calling in case of request itself. So either it's a get, post, delete, whatever is it. So options is one of the thing, put, delete also. So on the basis of that, we are not supposed to allow any we have to disallow internal URLs to be redirected to on unauthorized domain itself. We are not supposed to redirect it to unauthorized URL. That should be getting restricted. It should be in a controlled environment, should be redirect to the appropriate URL where we are defining it. It's not going redirected to any other URL. We are redirecting it to malicious URL like evil.com, something like that. So that should not be allowed. That's also to be getting restricted over here itself. That's coming under the category of the disable or the restricted dangerous protocol and the feature itself. Now going further with that, if you're talking about the HTTP header validation, that's also most important. So headers are most important in all the cases. Now applications are hosted on AWS, so people are not bit concerned about it, as everything will be taken care by the AWS itself. But if you're talking about any application which you are hosting on your internal data center itself, you have your own servers and you're deploying over there. So even in AWS also a misconfiguration is over there. You have to avoid such type of misconfiguration. So make sure such type of header should be present over there, so that you can prevent the SSRF. To get that done, validate and sanitize the HTTP headers to prevent attackers from injecting malicious headers that could manipulate the behavior of the HTTP request. That's most important. So we have to be added appropriate headers in a request, so that it should not be in like any malicious code will not be getting injected by the attackers at any point of time in a request. That's most important. What are the headers we have to use it? X forward host, that's first, and X original URL, that's the second header. These are the two headers which you can utilize it to overcome the problem of the SSRF, especially in the category of the HTTP header validation. Now going further with it, if I talk about the seventh point, that's most important, security headers and the CSP. So we talk about the HTTP header over there itself. Now we talk about the security header. So security headers, we're talking about the CSP. It's most important. So content security policy is one of the things which we have to get utilized. Implement the security headers like a CSP, which you call it as a secure content security policy, to restrict the origin that application can communicate with. That important. Use the default SRC directive in CSP to specify the allowed domain to resource like a script, style sheets, and the images. That's most important. So security headers to be get in place, it should be get it configured appropriately as per the need, so that we can prevent the SSRF attacks, all the cases. Going further with that, logging and the monitoring, that's also most important. So logging, like whenever any application, any activity, or for example if any user is trying to get access, that the logging should be there, and logging is one of the things, but the monitoring of that application is the most important, so that we can prevent the attack. Take example, if anything happening on the server and if we are not monitoring it, definitely any attack will be getting conducted and no one is aware about it, whether any attack is going on or not, and what's the impact. Like just to, if any attack happen, how to, like how can we identify like what's the impact of it on the application itself. So how much impact it's done, like after the attack, if we try to get an analyze root cause and everything, we'll just try to get it identify that. Then in that case we require a logging and the monitoring to be in place for each and every application, so that we can able to identify the source and everything about it, whatever attack conducted on the target application itself. So implement comprehensive logging mechanisms to monitor and track outgoing HTTP requests from the application. Log the details of requests, including the source, destination, and the response status. Now going further with the second one, set up alerting systems to notify administrators of suspicious or unauthorized HTTP requests originating from the application. So that's also most important. These are the two things which is most important for it. A logging, why the logging is required, and if we want to get it alerted, like if any unwanted traffic will get it generated, that should be get it alerted. Logging is most important, where we can track the activity even from the internal user. If anything goes wrong from the user side, then definitely we can get it identified. Even from the external source also we can get it logged. We know like whatever activity get it conducted, what action we have to take it accordingly. We have to, like after the analysis only you can take action. If you're not having any logs, you can't take any action. You're not aware about it, what's the impact on the application right now. Going further with that, we will talk about, these are the 10 one. Now we will reach to the 9th point, that's a network layer control. That's most important. Like I'm telling, like it's most important. These are the 10 points which is most important when we're talking about the SSRF. Like SSRF is not a small attack, it's a bigger attack. If any applications get it identified with the vulnerability of SSRF, that's a huge, like it's a critical vulnerability. If it's anyone identify SSRF attack on any application, it's coming under the category of the SSRF, and then we have to go ahead further with it just to identify how much is the impact we are getting it with the SSRF. Like if when I identify the SSRF, it's coming in the category of the high first, then on the basis of the impact we will reach either to the critical or super critical itself. We can go further with that. So it depends on it how much impact we can make out of this SSRF attack to be carried on the target server. So in case of network layer controls, there are two things which we have discussed about: a use of web proxy, and another one is a restrict port and the protocols. So limit the ports and the protocols your application can access. By default, restrict access to unnecessary ports and only allowed a communicated port HTTPS. So that's most important, which we have already discussed about it. So port should be very clear about it. What are the ports we are allowing for that application? Not all the ports should be getting allowed. Only the appropriate port, like port 80 or 443 as per the need, we have to utilize it. Not any other port other than that. If there is a need, then in that case definitely there is justification will be provided by the developers or with the stakeholders, like this is the port we needed other than this. So these are the only two protocols we have to get it allowed. Now going for the use of web proxy, consider using a web proxy to mediate outgoing traffic and enforce security policies. This can provide additional layer of control itself. That's also most important. Like if we have a web proxy, definitely we can restrict the access of unwanted thing to be getting access, or any unwanted type of stuffs to be getting conducted on a target application. Then in that case we can prevent it using a web proxy. Going further with that, additional security measures. So if you're talking about it, disable the redirects, which we have already discussed about it. We should have to restrict it only an internal one to be redirected one. If anything is going on external word, then definitely should be get restricted. We are not supposed to redirect our application URL to any external URL. If it's a legitimate one, it's a appropriate controls in place for the redirect one, then it's okay. But otherwise, normally it will redirect internally only, not to the external word. In case of external, it will happen only in the condition if we have the appropriate approvals in place, and that should be a trusted site, trusted URL, then only it will redirect it, not for any URL. That should be making a list over there itself, so that we know like only this URL will be getting redirect to the X URL itself as per the need, as per the requirement. We have already raised a request for it. Going further with the monitoring and application log, we have discussed about it. That's most important. We require the logs for the troubleshooting purpose itself. Even to track the situation of the application, activities, logs, we have to get it tracked with this way. So talk about the final words. So if we talk about the final words itself, defense in depth. Implementing a single security measures might not be enough. That's one of the thing. Consider a layered approach that combines various techniques for optimal protection itself. So what it means, like defense in depth, it means like don't go with only a security on a one, don't trust on it. Take example, you are utilizing restricted something on your server itself and you think like everything is secure. No, this is one of the prevention measures. You have to take multiple prevention measures, like a web to be getting implemented. You have to implement IPS. You have to implement firewalls, internal firewalls. You have to get it deployed with the appropriate agents to be in place, so that you will restrict a lot of unwanted accessibility on the target server. That's most important. So make sure, like when you are implementing architecture, then definitely you have to consider all the endpoints to be appropriately in place. Make sure your parameter security of that application should be appropriately, like you have appropriate roles, ACL signatures to be in place, and architecture should be sound, so that if at any point of time anything happened to the application, you have so many layers of security over there itself, so that after bypassing so many security levels, then only that person will reach to that target server itself. And if you have a bad luck, definitely you will reach, but at least you can prevent with a multiple layer of security itself. That is most important, coming under the category of the defense in depth. Stay updated. That's also most important. So whatever the version you're using it, if any new exploit is getting introduced in the market, make sure you will upgrade that version to the latest one. As if after our testing, you will have to get it upgrade. Don't go with the older version only all the time. Definitely older version having so many vulnerabilities, and that to be get it update. If a new release will be provided by the vendors, definitely go with the latest version for it. Make sure that you have a compatibility. Don't go with the compatibility, like if you have a compatibility issue, don't go with the latest version, but definitely you have to secure by that, like whatever the version n-1 version is the version, if it's preferable for you, don't go ahead further with that. Don't go for the updated one n version, go for n-1, but still overcome the problem of the vulnerabilities. Don't be with that version which is a vulnerable one in a market and you're using the same version continuously. It may impact your application on one day. That was the reason behind it. So by implementing these prevention measures, you can significantly reduce the risk of the SSRF attack in your Node.js application and enhance their overall security posture. It is essential to stay updated on emerging threats and security best practice to adapt your defense accordingly. That's most important. So like whenever any threats will be getting introduced in the market, like this is not only for the pen tester, even for the developers, they should know like these are the latest threats are introduced in the market. We should be get it checked on our application whether this is feasible or not. If it's feasible, definitely we have to look around for some solution for it. Other solution will be provided by the vendors. If not, then definitely we have to look around for some other solution for like with the multiple layers. We try to get it prevented in such a way so that that vulnerability will not impact my my application. So that's all about the stuff. I just want to get it covered. This is a different type of video of knowledge share where I'm just explaining the details about, like, this is helpful for the developers, even for the pen testers, but as there's nothing like a practical stuff, so pen testers they will get that information about it, how to get it approached and provided the details to the developer. But this is most important for the developer. If anyone is using a Node.js and they're working like a developer in Node.js itself, if any SSRF type of attack they are seeing in the report, then definitely they have to be get prevented on the basis of these 10 points, and this is most important, and the final word is also most important for it. So I hope you like this video. If you like this video, please subscribe my channel. Thank you so much once again. Take care. Bye bye.